everyone. So in today's sponsored interview, I'm sitting down with two good friends of mine, Shermini as well as Yaro, who are working at the Mysterium Network project that are aiming to build a decentralized virtual private network system that allows anyone to connect to any access of the web, as well as to being able to have data privacy over the web traffic that they surface. So I want to go ahead and talk about this because it is a pretty big deal, and I've been actually following Mysterium since all the way back in 2017, whereas many projects have come and gone. Mysterium has still stuck around and has actually built something, and what better way to showcase that they've actually built something than use it while we're talking about it. If you can see on the right hand side of the screen, before we dive into the interview, I'm actually doing this call with Shermini and Yara right now from different corners of the world, accessing the virtual private network through Mysterium. So you can see that I've picked up a direct connection here with a unique blockchain address, and along with that as well, I can see that I have a certain duration connecting with it, a certain amount of download and upload here, and the amount of Mysterium tokens that I've paid. So I'm just really excited to dive into this, guys. I don't want to ramble on too long. Shermini, I want you to go ahead and start with you here. It's such a privilege to have you here. And I want to go ahead and just talk about, what is a VPN at the end of the day? Why do people constantly keep hearing about VPNs and get advertised VPNs? And why are they so important, not only to data privacy, but also getting to access information?
So the first problem that we're solving with Mysterium Network and with VPNs is that many people don't have the information that you have access to, and you don't have access to all the information in the world. So in a climate that we currently have, where there are protests in Belarus, where we have internet service providers that are able to shut down entire nations at government whims, and even on a lighter note, the TikTok ban in the US, we're seeing a real need for solutions that allow for people to access geo-restricted content. So that's one of the problems that we're fundamentally solving within the VPN industry. And now I'll talk a little bit about what a VPN is. A VPN is basically allows for you to establish a secure connection to other networks over the internet, right? So when you're using a VPN, you look at a list of nodes like Nick, you've shown, and you click on a node or you click on an exit IP, and then you exit looking as though you're from this geo location. With Mysterium Network, as compared to centralized VPNs, where these exit IPs are owned by the centralized VPNs, with Mysterium Network, these are residential IPs run by people at their home, running node software at home. So it's really a network that's powered by the people for the people. That's how we're fundamentally different. And it's also really interesting for the use case of streaming. As we know, it's a cat and mouse game of trying to allow for geo-restricted content to be accessible. Residential IPs have proven to be one of the most under the hood. Yara will give you a more technological explanation of this, but the most hard to identify type of IP address. So it allows for us to offer a more seamless user experience for our end users as well. So that's how I would say we're different. We're different in that we have residential IPs that are run by people, and that we have no logs because we can't log, because we don't have any servers, and all the traffic is distributed through our network.
Shermini, I think you did a great job of explaining, and Yara, I'm really interested to dive into a little bit of the more technical side in a moment. But as you mentioned, Shermini, I think you brought up a good point here. I think it's good to kind of abstract and view the differences in the worlds of VPNs with a centralized provider like NordVPN or TunnelBear, all these big VPN providers, or ExpressVPN, and something like Mysterium, because Mysterium's in a completely different plane. The architecture of how it works on the back end for a centralized VPN is you're going to these centralized silos. You can usually see them visualized on a map in most of the softwares, where I select maybe one of 3 or 4 different options in different countries. And the problem with this is that there's 2 issues, as I think you kind of hinted to, Shermini. Like, one, you have to worry about, okay, if it's free or really low cost, what's the real product at the end of the day? Are they actually selling my data, or are they keeping it secure as they're telling me they're doing? In most cases, I have no doubt that there's probably a lot of wrongdoing with many of these companies where they do collect data to some degree. And along with that as well, you have to consider that, because these centralized VPNs are so predictable and known by major governments across the world, in this case, they can easily still block and basically knock out any kind of traffic from reaching past firewalls or reaching towards information that they want to censor. So in the case of something like Mysterium, you actually can abstract this much greater because everything is done on an individual level. It's localized. And again, I think in this case, you'll probably do a better job of explaining this, but I'm curious to hear, on the technical front of things, how do you guys make this work? I think this is a really interesting question. And I think with all VPNs, especially us in the crypto space, we're always curious about, okay, how does it actually work in this case? How have you guys gone about building the solution?
Yeah, so actually, Mysterium Network has two very difficult problems to solve. One of it is a networking problem, so how to go through different firewalls, how to unlock content. So it's a censorship problem, and I would say digital discrimination problem, because not only governments are like banning people from the content, but some big corporations. So we have to act like as a non-natural user, not as a VPN company, and there are a lot of networking issues going through different Wi-Fi's and hops. So a lot of issues there, but because our exit nodes are run by people, we have to you have to pay somehow them, and you need global payment system. The problem is that when you have nodes in India, Brazil, Russia, United States, you don't have a common payment system. You have only one choice: blockchain payments. The problem with blockchain, there is another problem. It's super expensive and slow. And we are charging, you can see in your application, each minute your balance is decreasing, and node provider balance is increasing. So that's really small payments, less than 1 cent in one transaction. So we had to build a second layer solution on top of blockchain. It's inspired by Lightning Network, but built on top of Ethereum blockchain. And it's running like payments in MIS token inside that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I see the clear problem there with having some kind of like universal payment system, and something as well that you guys know that will be able to be transacted quickly over layer 2, that's able to provide the opportunity for pretty much anyone to not only provide this service, so you obviously have the software that makes that possible, but also to be able to earn. I mean, people aren't going to do this for free, right? So they want to have some kind of incentive mechanism. And I think it's great. I mean, like the reality is that, you know, I can see here who I'm connecting to, and I can have multiple different options. I think it kind of builds a free market in this case to get the lowest cost possible.
Well, that's fundamental.
Go for it. I would also add that incentivization is a very important point of decentralization. Look on Tor network. It's there for more than 10 years, and they have only a couple of thousand exit nodes. In Mysterium, we grew into like hundreds of, even into 1,000 nodes sometimes in 1 year. And that's because when you say that you can earn, much more people are willing to run exit node. And Tor is just run by volunteers, which makes its adoption much, much harder.
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say in that case, like I think about a lot of peer-to-peer networks. You know, if you're talking about like torrenting networks, and you have basically you're trying to sometimes struggle to find seeders and all these different types of data providers who will give you that information, relay it to you. The problem is, as you mentioned, there's no incentive for them to do that for BitTorrent or any of these major applications. So in this case, Mysterium is having a direct native currency for something that, again, is a multi-billion-dollar market here. It obviously needs something that is completely out of the whim of any kind of centralized payment network. So, I mean, it makes a very good set of sense here for Mysterium to have its own token. Overall, guys, like I'm curious to ask a little bit as well about the product in this case. Like, when someone gets started here, one thing that I really love about the application, I know I was telling you, Shermini, like I think it's so nice that when you first download the app, you get a little bit of Mysterium just to try it out. Like, and you can actually see real time. You can browse the web. You don't need to use any other VPN provider. This is it right here. It works, and you can top it up with more Mysterium if you need to get access to it. So in that case as well, I know we were talking a little bit about it before. Like, let's say for example, I use my Mysterium in this case, and I want to top up my account. And you guys have created not only this layer 2 solution for people to make payouts, in this case, micropayments in a very sound way, but also there's ways to actually top up your account and get more Mysterium. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll let you take this one and explain our BetaNet process a little bit, because I think there's some, like we have a couple of different networks running at the same time, so I think Yara will jump into this one and provide clarity.
Yeah.
The one which you are using actually is using test tokens, which are tokens on Ethereum testnet, Girly testnet. So it's quite easy to give you any tokens, but it's still super fast, and you just don't see this luck because even on the testnet, you would need to wait up to 1 minute till some transaction will appear there. In our case, it's fast. It's 1 second or less. But we're really going to release very, very soon BetaNet, which is the same solution but run on Ethereum mainnet. It's, like when Gmail released their email, it was the best email ever, but still in beta. So we are also calling it a beta. It will run real tokens. And yes, we will have some issues with the initial top up because of Ethereum blockchain. Like in Mysterium Network, you need only one transaction to top up your balance, which will go through blockchain. All other transactions will be on layer 2. But this transaction could be still very expensive. But the good news is that there are some abstraction layers which we would like to build on top. So actually the payments will be almost on third layer in the future. So we could avoid the first layer totally. And also there are some people who are already building their own applications and accepting fiat and paying for node runners from their pocket. So for them, their pocket is very big, and this blockchain transaction is not an issue at all.
Yeah, I think in that case, like, there's so many ways you can like kind of get creative and get around this issue right now. I mean, we've had the same issue with Digifox and stuff. We're trying to basically figure out how we deal with the extremely high gas fees. And it's so sad because, these fees right now, it's such an inconvenience for applications like Mysterium that want to be able to operate on Ethereum as a network and be able to make these payouts. So we have to go towards layer 2, and as you mentioned, abstract towards third layers and all kinds of different types of solutions where we can actually get payments through and make things run. So one thing I was going to ask you guys here real quick is, once you get the BetaNet going through in this case, are there any kind of big plans to like scale out the project? Is there any additional things that you're going to be working on the technological front? And if people kind of want to get engaged with Mysterium and maybe try out the application or become a part of the community, maybe even become a node runner in this case, how do they get involved with it?
You can definitely find everything you need to get involved with Mysterium Network at mysterium.network. Check out our apps. They're running on testnet. They work, as you can see from Nick using it. Check out our node runner software. Jump into Discord. That's where our core community hangs out. We're on Telegram. We're growing. And we're really, really excited about growing to help different emerging markets access information. That's our current goal at this stage. Is with micropayments, we see a real fit, and we will continue to grow to other markets moving forward as well. So jump in, have a play with our app, and let us know what you think on Discord, because we want to improve. We want to offer the best user experience, because to show that crypto can have some killer depths, we need some killer depths, and we're working on it.
Absolutely, sure. I was going around with the user experience. I think, as I told you and stuff, I like what you guys have built so far. I think what's so cool is that just being presented right in front of you, like all the different options. I don't have it here on the screen. I'll actually probably display an image here real quick just to showcase it. But you can see that you have all these different options to choose from different abstract users and addresses from across the world. And I'm excited to see how you guys continue to tweak the experience. I like how you allow us to measure by certain values in this case, whether we don't mind paying a higher cost to get a better connection, or maybe we're going for the cheaper cost and we're doing kind of low latency or low network traffic kind of activity on the web. I think
everything is free for the moment on our apps. Everything is free for the moment on our apps. So test them. Like, it's all test miss. It's free for the moment. Like, it's a good time to get in on a DApp before we go onto BetaNet and then implement real peer-to-peer payments. So it's there for the playing.
Awesome. Well, Shireen,
we do have real peer-to-peer payments. Just while we're on testnet, you will get much more free tokens.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'll be Mysterium rich. I'll have 1 million. Like, I'll be a node operator and have 1 million Mysterium tokens on testnet, and I'm like, wait, what do you mean it's on testnet? Anyways, guys, I mean, this is fantastic. Like, above all, I mean, to know that the core technology is working right now, and along with that as well, that there's you guys are working out the payment structure. It's ironic. It tends to be that payments tend to be a big issue in like a lot of applications. As I mentioned, we know that all too well and stuff with the scalability of the Ethereum network. So one thing that I know you guys have also been working towards establishing right now is a decentralized VPN alliance with Sentinel. So I was kind of curious, what does that entail in that case, and how is this going to help you guys kind of flourish your further development and kind of broadening of the decentralized VPN ecosystem?
So when we started in 2017, we were one of the first projects, and when I jumped on board, I had a CLI clients to play with, and now we've been working with exit nodes for a year. We've been in testnet for half a year, and we see a lot of pain that comes with that kind of interplay between technology and legislation. And we see a real need for setting standards within the DVPN industry to help with guidance for exit nodes. We see Tor has come up against a few cases, if you look as well in their recent history. And so we're very excited because we are partnering with Sentinel to form this DVPN alliance. It's an open call to all privacy-oriented organizations. We're reaching out to more, and we're hoping to really become a body of influence and education for public policy so that we can help to change from both ends, from a grassroots and from a policy, and how we look at privacy more globally.
Awesome, sure. I mean, I think that's awesome to just see more partnerships forming, because I think if projects go at this in a siloed approach, it kind of goes against everything that's, we're kind of fighting for, of collaborating and making sure we have all the firepower, I think, between all of us to make sure that this vision is met. And I think at the end of the day, there's going to be room for a lot of companies and a lot of projects to really succeed and do well, but also to meet this vision, it's going to take multiple different approaches. But all in all, guys, I mean, it's fantastic to see here that you guys have built out something ever since back in 2017. It was a vision, it was a white paper, a concept, and now you guys have actually built it into a real product. I think you guys should be extremely proud of yourselves for it. I think this is, out of the few use cases that actually make sense outside of financial applications, this is right up there in regards to like blockchain technology and decentralized approaches to building up peer-to-peer payment networks and peer-to-peer networks for communicating web traffic. So all in all, I think you guys have done a phenomenal job, and I appreciate you both for making the time here today to talk about it.